Good afternoon, all. Welcome to another edition of the Sal Greco Show, and I'm your host, Sal Greco. I hope everyone's having a good Tuesday afternoon. I hope everybody also had a great weekend. There was a lot going on there, even in the sports world. But a lot happened in the last couple of days, especially our main punching bag around here, the illustrious mayor of New York City, the swagger man with no plan himself, Eric Adams. And we got a lot to get to with that. So before all of that, if we can, though, if you're all out there right now, if you could please, if you're on YouTube, please hit that like, share, subscribe button, hit that notification button as well. If you're on Rumble, hit that Rumble button, hit the like button. And if you're watching us live right now on X, please repost this and share this out to all your friends and family. So you get a little information, an information blitz here. So first off, I wanted to start off the show with my friend Mike Crispy, who yesterday posted something I think it's very relevant here. It is the President Trump, who finally jumped in the race for the New Jersey governor. As you know, it's a Republican primary, and of course the Republicans did have Jack Ciattarelli running in 2021, I believe, and he almost won. So there is now an endorsement coming from the president, and that's a Jack Ciattarelli, not of Bill Spadea. And all I want to mention with this is that I have friends I used to have, and they unfollowed me because I'm not too astute in this, we'll say. I'm not a New Jersey politics kind of guy. But Mike Crispy is a friend of mine. And to go back in time when I was going through my NYPD department trial, Mike Crispy, who was not, I believe he had his own show, was about to get his show, but he was not as prominent as he is now. This is over 3 years ago. He came to support me. He listened in to some of the most heinous things the police department was saying about me and running illegal warrants and all that. And Mike Crispy was there for me. And so Mike Crispy then was running for Congress himself. And I said, anyone who's there at a time of darkness, that's someone you want to be in a foxhole with. So Mike Crispy, who's a dear friend of mine and now is also the president of the Italian-American Civil Rights League, which you can join at IACRL.org. You could go there and become a member. And he's the president. I'm on the board. So he has been adamant that Bill Spadea is not who he says he is. I don't need much more than him saying that. He's very politically savvy. He's an upstart political mind, Mike Crispy. And he definitely, for the last few years, his hand has been on the pulse of New Jersey politics. So he kept saying Bill Spadea will not be endorsed by President Trump. He even put up something that happened at Bedminster where I think Bill Spadea took a picture in and around President Trump. He was told not to, and then he posted something from years ago. But this guy has a whole, I'd say like an army of people online, Bill Spadea. Like you have to see it. And they're all MAGA people, allegedly. They're all Trump supporters. But yesterday when this happened, oh my God, it was a plethora of people that came out. And now they're supposed to be MAGA supporters bashing the president, saying, how could you do this? You get it wrong. Bill Spadea himself, who puts pictures of himself with Trump, is now saying he made the wrong choice, and he's made the wrong choice in the past, who is endorsed. And I find it funny because for the MAGA crowd, here you are going after President Trump over an endorsement. But when I say, what the hell is he doing getting involved in Eric Adams' criminal case? And then he was with him on Friday, by the way. Nobody has a problem with that. Nobody in MAGA world. He's the blue MAGA mayor, Eric Adams. So you have a problem in that he endorses Jack Ciattarelli, and that means half of MAGA New Jersey wants to disown Trump. You have to see some of the comments. And these people are very close to the heart there with him. But with Eric Adams, who's a criminal, and we're going to discuss him, the way he's acting, he's basically a thug. You have no problem with that. Oh, we have to support Eric Adams. He's the greatest guy on earth. You guys are a bunch of hypocrites, and I'm only pointing that out. And I supported Mike Crispy. So whoever he endorses, whatever he says, that's what I would go with because I know he knows New Jersey politics. And once again, he was right on the pulse. He's not a Jack Ciattarelli surrogate, but he did say that Bill Spadea will never get endorsed by Mr. President Trump. But I don't know what's going on there with the whole MAGA crowd. You need to do a little soul searching if this seems to be more important than him buddying up to a criminal that has a potential of, I don't know, a few more criminal cases coming up, unless the DOJ gets in the middle of that. So speaking of the DOJ and speaking of the New York City Police Department under Eric Adams, it has come to our attention today through Eric Sanders, the attorney for former Lieutenant Quatisha Epps, that they're getting ready to file this lawsuit right here. As you could tell, it's in regards to well, there was the clawback thing that happened when they tried to take her money. They wanted the money that she got from a salary back, which they've never asked for that before. And it says right there that a person a pension reduction of more than $60,000 annually, reflecting on actuarially projected direct loss of at least $1.5 million over her 25-year retirement. And I think those are conservative numbers, because as you could see here, you do the math, and it's what, $50,000, almost $51,000, because you have to also figure that she's also losing her variable supplement, which she was just about to get because she was in the 20th year, and all of this happens. And it's basically was a hit job by the NYPD, who is attacking this woman as if she's the sole person that is doing something nefarious, when you're going to hear that there was nothing nefarious really, and it was a bunch of other people doing a lot of nefarious things, many of them being of high-ranking stature in the New York City Police Department. And of course, all roads lead to who? Once again, the New York City Mayor, Eric Adams. So I can't wait to read whenever this lawsuit comes out. And also, I'm pretty sure Eric Sanders will be back on this show to discuss that and a lot more that's been going on in regards to lawsuits that he has filed. So that look for that to come up. Also, right now that's been breaking is Rikers Island, as you know, in New York City, has now gone into receivership here. Finally, we have a decision, and a judge appoints an outside official to take over deadly Rikers Island jail. Laura Taylor Swain, a federal judge, seized control of New York City's lockups, which have been rife with violence and dysfunction. So this was something that was kicked down the road for God knows how long. It was years. I remember under Bill de Blasio as the mayor, this was kicked down the road continuously. And Rikers really needs some kind of direction. And, of course, this administration in Gracie Mansion right now doesn't know what they're doing with anything. They know how to, get kickbacks on contracts, but they don't know what's going on. So I could have kind of forecasted this was going to happen. Here's part of it. New York City has spent more than $500,000 per inmate annually in recent years, according to city data, well beyond what other large cities have spent. And yet detainees still sometimes go without food or proper medical care. I mean, look, that's just a little bit of the problems that go on there. But there have been many problems over the years, but yet, there's never been a response. Nobody knows what they're doing. We also have problems with correction officers and the things that they're dealing with. And then you have them being used as props, like we stated on last week when we showed you Jumaane Williams showing up, and he's basically trying to deflect off his own criminal problems he potentially is going to have. So again, Rikers has always been a subject, a big subject in the city. And finally, you're finally seeing some movements, but we kind of saw this one coming. I mean, here's a headline, right? Knife-wielding retired New York City Correction Officer 54 stabbed himself before being shot dead by Long Island cops during welfare check. And these are some of the things, you have lifelong effects from working there. So again, we're going to discuss this with a guest in a little bit, because she just happens to be a former corrections commissioner as well. So I'm sure she has plenty to say there. But before that, the real meat and potatoes here of what we were going to discuss today is Eric Adams. And on Friday, his criminal case, which was under seal in New York City in the federal judge, their Judge Dale Ho, released the documents, of course, redacted. But there's plenty of material here in this article, and I'm going to kind of rummage through some of this. This is from the city. It's from Greg B. Smith, Yoav Gonen, and Katie Honan, who excellent reporting. And it's Eric Adams' search warrant records show scramble to evade FBI scrutiny. And I'm going to read some of this because some of this stuff is clearly it's what a crime boss does. That's the best way to describe it. Definitely not what the mayor of New York City would be doing. A trove of documents from Mayor Adams' now defunct criminal case released late Friday reveals extraordinary steps the mayor and his aides took to keep their communications secret, prompting the FBI to seek approval to unlock as many electronic devices by pressing the mayor's fingers to devices or holding his head in front of them if needed to gain access. That just shows you right there. I mean, is that what he's just the mayor. He'll hand them right over and talk to you, I'm sure. And seeking search warrants to search the devices of the mayor and his aides, the FBI told judges they need to gain immediate access to the phones and other electronics upon seizure to prevent data from being deleted remotely. Manhattan federal judge Dale Ho ordered federal prosecutors to release the search warrants at the request of the New York Times in the aftermath of the extraordinary dismissal of Adams' corruption charges last month at the behest of the Trump administration. Kudos to the New York Times. I mean, people killed them, but this was actually something that was brilliant because we have the right to see this. The FBI filing detailing evidence of suspected campaign finance fraud by Adams, campaign fundraisers, other associates spell out step by step how prosecutors and investigators proceeded in a probe initiated by the Manhattan U.S. Attorney in August 2021 before Adams had won the election. The search warrants targeted Adams and key players involved in Adams' alleged scheme to solicit and accept illegal straw donations during his quest to obtain millions of dollars in public matching funds, including from foreign nationals with ties to the Turkish government. People kind of like gloss over this still. Oh, well, Eric Adams is just bribes Turkish people. There's nothing to see, nothing to look at there. The agents note that Adams used at least 7 cell phones during the course of the investigation, and along with his aides, often employed the encrypted Signal app that can be set to automatically delete messages. Oh, that's a problem. I don't know if you guys know this, but that's going to be a problem with what I'm about to say right here. Those phones included one Adams obtained from the NYPD after the feds took 4 of his devices near Washington Square Park in a search of his vehicle in November 2023, a device investigators learned about after they seized the phone of former NYPD Commissioner Edward Caban last year and found Eric Adams and his contacts. This is another paragraph here that's alarming. Adams continued to use Signal even after the FBI seized some, but not all of his phones in November 2023 as he fundraised for his current re-election campaign. In a May 2024 Signal chat, the mayor exchanged messages with an individual identified as businessman number 4, whom prosecutors say had helped facilitate a straw donor scheme for the mayor's campaign in 2020. Now, this article will go on and on to talk about things that I will be talking about with Sarena. Dwayne Montgomery was another person mentioned. Of course, he pled guilty to a straw donor scheme with the state. And, they were also used to obtain internal records of the Adams 2021 and 2025 campaigns to corroborate discussions about fundraising that at times, including the mayor, including messages exchanged with fundraisers already prosecuted in straw donor schemes. That would be Dwayne Montgomery, and Mohammed Bahi was one of his employees. But once I saw this, I think, my brain hit an outside the box moment. Going to the part where it said he has an NYPD cell phone, just for the record here, he is the New York City mayor. He does not need an NYPD taxpayer-funded phone. Why? He's not a law enforcement personnel, and he's not a member of the New York City Police Department. He's not even the janitor. He is not a civilian member or uniform member. Therefore, the purpose of his phone to use Signal, that is not something that could be claimed under executive privilege or I'm the mayor. He cannot do that. Therefore, I made it public that I used I did a FOIA request to the mayor's office. I also did one to the NYPD. I don't know why they won't acknowledge it. And I also posted this on X. So I filed a FOIA request, and the FOIA request is for the reasons of, like you can see on the screen here, that I'm requesting all cellular, any cellular device, including burner or unregistered phones issued through the New York City Police Department to Mayor Eric Adams, and it's involving everything. Okay. And I actually referenced this article so that if they say, well, we can't do that, they can read the article for themselves. And it's fine if they deny it, but they'll be in Article 78, because this time I'm going to put my foot down and draw the line in the sand, because the people have had enough of this highly corrupt individual who is really a disgrace to the office. And with that being said, I would like to bring on our guest who knows a lot about this. She's a former corrections commissioner. She's also a former prosecutor in Brooklyn. And of course, she's now a current civil and defense counselor. And that's my good friend, Sarena Townsend.
Hello, Sal. This might be the best day of my life.
I know. Well, you got so much. There's a double whammy here. So I was going to start with Eric Adams with you, but I'm kind of setting the stage because we do have the prior article I mentioned, which is the Rikers receivership and what's going on there. You were dealing with that. You worked there while this whole thing had originally started, and now we have a final decision. And I think it shows just how bad Eric Adams' administration is. So why don't you give us your take on what just occurred there at Rikers with the courts?
This has been an over 3-year battle in the making. Yes, I was there when the consent decree, right after the consent decree was signed is when I started. I was trying to reform Rikers from within, hold staff accountable, investigate misconduct, and eventually on day one of Adams's terror, reign of terror, he fired me for doing just that, right? He hired Commissioner Luis Molina, who had no right to be the commissioner at all. And that guy basically bent the knee to the unions and fired me on his very first day. He then proceeded to have more deaths on Rikers Island than any commissioner in like decades. Almost 30 people died on his watch when he was commissioner. And also he was found out that he was completely hiding and manipulating stats. The Federal Monitor uncovered it. He hired corrupt people to do his bidding because he fired and demoted all of the people who wouldn't do his bidding. It was all uncovered by the Federal Monitor, but nobody was really doing anything about it. And so, a federal receiver is necessary for so many reasons. Even though Molina has been shuttled away, the problem still persists. The politics are still there. The union interference is still there. Archaic rules prevent people from being held accountable and hiring the right people and procuring the right jail doors or materials to just make the place work. Every barrier has been put in the way and nobody could do anything about it. So a federal receiver who's an independent person answerable not to Mayor Adams, but to the federal judge is what was necessary. We've been fighting this battle for 3 years, and today is the day the judge ordered it.
I know. And I think, so in your opinion, should New Yorkers rejoice over this, or should they say, oh my God, because now the illustrious mayor of New York no longer has control over Rikers Island?
For both reasons, they should rejoice over it. They should rejoice. Listen, you're taking management of the jails away from somebody who's incapable and corrupt. So that's already a great thing for us. Even if Mayor Adams doesn't win, which I don't think he will, I actually think that it's a great thing to have a federal judge with that level of oversight. And this judge, Laura Swain, is actually excellent. She's the chief judge of SDNY. She has a long record of success. She's very patient, very smart, very good with her words. She really makes sure she understands things before coming to conclusions, which is what she did here. As much as it was frustrating that it took time, at least she did the right thing and heard from both sides. So I think people should be rejoicing. Look, Sal, you and I were both, you're a former police officer. I'm a former prosecutor. We've both put people on Rikers Island, right? We're not sitting here saying Rikers should be, we should just be abolitionists and nobody should ever go to jail. We're not saying that. But people have to understand Rikers Island is for people who haven't yet been convicted. It's for
Correct.
people who've just been arrested. I mean, at least 85% is. There's also people who are there who are just spending a year. But for the most part, Rikers is just it's a holding cell, right? It's equivalent to like a holding cell at a precinct. And they haven't gone to court. They haven't proven their case. And they're there for years because the justice system is so slow. And they've been dying. They've been dying in custody. And it's just been so absolutely mismanaged, so opaque. Nobody knows what's going on. I do. I know what was going on because it was my job to uncover all of that stuff. It's bad. I could tell you it's bad. New Yorkers should be very happy because guess what? As much as New Yorkers say, oh, if you didn't do the crime, you wouldn't have to worry about being on Rikers. It's not supposed to be a 5-star hotel. I agree, but you also shouldn't die, you know?
Yeah, I would say that. You shouldn't be dying there. There's also people got sick there. Here's another headline. Shootings by off-duty New York City correction officers raise questions. Off-duty New York City correction officer arrested for firing gun in the air in Manhattan's Hell Kitchen. Off-duty New York City correction officer charged for pulling gun and fight over parking spot. This is because that environment is what it does. Yeah. Bruce Boyd, a retired New York City correction officer, was shot and killed by Suffolk police around 12:30 p.m. after officials with the department said he charged at 3 cops with a bloody knife. And this is the effects of this, what's going on there. And people really don't ever care. They don't care about the corrections officers that work there. Yep. They don't care about the people that are locked up there right now, whether they're incarcerated temporarily or they're stuck, like you say, because the wheels of justice move at a snail's pace unless you're Eric Adams, and that's the problem. You know, that's the problem.
By the way, it's so true. It's 2 tiers of justice. I want to say I worked with Bruce Boyd. He was a wonderful man. Rest in peace. And it is true. This should be celebrated by correction officers as well. As you know, I represent a lot of correction officers. I represent staff members at DOC, and they're not well taken care of either. When I criticize the department, it's mainly to criticize the leadership, if you want to call it that, and the unions, because the unions don't protect their regular members. They protect their cronies. They protect those who, do more than just pay their dues. They get on the knees, right? So this is not the kind of environment that anybody should be subject to, not the correction officers and not the detainees. I mean, it's like a free-for-all over there. You got correction officers getting stuck for triple shifts overnight, all this stuff. And then they are supposed to be responsible. Yeah. And they're supposed to be responsible. How you don't let surgeons, do their surgery without proper rest. How are you going to have correction officers taking care of people who have nothing to do but plan behind bars? There's nothing to do, because that's also something that Eric Adams did. He got rid of all the programs. So they didn't, keep the detainees busy with other things to do. I mean, the whole thing is in shambles, and someone needs to come in, and now someone will, who's not beholden to politics, not beholden to a mayor, who's just hopefully an intellectual person who actually cares about staff and detainees and wants to make the right decisions for the right reasons.
And thank God Tim Pearson's not around to try to null and void all of this, because he's another nefarious character that was involved.
Yeah.
Right here, stay trained up. My cousin was a CO in New York City, says it was like living in the projects. But all of this said, I wanted to get to the meats and potatoes, because it does. We can kind of tie this back into as Hunter puts, Adams was awarded the New York's finest retired unfiltered podcast man of the year. So, and here he is. And this is the first video I wanted to show you before anything, is I know you heard what I was talking about with all the documents, and we'll get into that. But Eric Adams yesterday was asked about what happened, with all the documents and everything that was in there. So let's just play what the illustrious mayor of New York has to say.
They were contemplating grabbing my phone at the end of the marathon. I mean, like, what was that about? You knew where I lived. You knew what City Hall was. You knew what Gracie Mansion was. The entire globe is watching the end of the marathon while I'm holding the tape. And they were going to come and wanted to humiliate me. That's personal. That's not professional. that's personal. And you know, I think that for him to be on the campaign trail and say this is wrong, what's happening to Eric Adams, and I wanted to tell him thank you for that. Then I talked about my vision for the chip farm in the Bronx, a place that he got a huge amount of support for, and talked about this important wind farm that we have here and other topics.
Did you talk about birthright citizenship or ICE on Rikers at all?
All right, guys, let's go.
Did you talk about your case? You thanked him because the DOJ dismissed your case?
Watch your back.
So that was the first part. So just before I go into more with that, what are your thoughts hearing that? That was, I believe, Kelly Mamalik from WPIX who released that asked him that question. Or it might have been Katie Honan, but definitely his answer. And then they asked about Rikers. Yeah, they didn't want to talk about it. They ran away.
Yep. Great reporting by whoever took that video. I just want to know if the Boston Marathon was personal to him, like his perp walk of Luigi Mangione was personal to Luigi. I just want to know. I just want to know if he's going to hold anyone, to the same standard as he holds himself. First of all, they didn't actually come to the marathon, so it wasn't personal because they didn't do it. Second of all, there's reasons why they had to track you down because you're acting slippery. Like nobody knows where you live. Nobody knows what your phone number is. You got 7 phones. You're like it's like a marionette. Like no one knows. So they knew you would be there because you love a good publicity shot. That's probably why they anticipated that you would be there and that they could get you. And also time was of the essence. I think they didn't want to wait too long because he was constantly scrubbing his phones, tampering with evidence and burying it. So, he could say what he wants, but we know, and we're going to talk more about it. I know, Sal, but we know from these records that this was not personal at all, that this was happening since 2021.
Yeah. And I'm going to have someone who just chimed in there, Special Hagen, said, they were planning to grab his phone at the marathon because they didn't know where he slept that night. Apparently, he was moving amongst his shorties. Also, at this time, he was known to be frequenting a very seedy, shady place in the Bronx. We all know the name of it, Con Sofrito, where he was leaving with shorties. That's well documented. So where were they going to go? And by the way, the marathon is a public place. People don't realize this. Eric Adams has the right to carry a gun because he was a former cop. We don't know if he has one on him or not. He also has a security detail. If you're the FBI, we have already seen that when they ask to have a warrant for your electronics or they're going to arrest you, 30 of them like to show up, kind of like when my friend's house here in Florida, 30 of them showed up for a man who was 68 years old at that time that owned no firearms. But in this case, Eric Adams can have a firearm. So there could be a potential issue. So to do it at the marathon would make sense because if you are at the marathon, it's open public, right? There's not going to be, he's not going to start. Oh, what's he going to do? Start shooting at everyone and people? Because you got to think. The thing is, I understand from the FBI, and I've heard this from Carl Serafin, who's on the circuit right now talking about a lot of stuff with the FBI. He's a former FBI agent. He goes, they really don't ever think, well, we could stop a guy when he's pumping gas in his car, something like that, or he's walking to the store. They like to do this 6 a.m., send 30 guys in the house and anything could go wrong. So that almost sounds like something reasonable. Stopping him at the marathon would actually be very effective and probably less of a chance of something major occurring because there's so many people there. There's cameras, and we know how Eric is. He's not going to reduce himself into, fight or flight. Let me shoot my way out of this. Because you never know with this guy. Because, again, 7 phones. We don't know where he is. He hangs out with the seediest people in the shadiest places. And what do you think the FBI's reaction was to that? So I think I don't, and then he doesn't want to answer the Rikers question. It's just that was my favorite one there, Sarena.
It doesn't matter anymore. He's not going to need any answers because he's out of the game. He's been pulled. He's on the bench.
But so now, obviously, this is breaking also. Eric Adams is having his press conference. It was just like maybe the last hour, 30 minutes. And I want to play this video and get your reaction to it because they asked him about first they asked him about his whatever 10-second meeting with President Trump. And then he gets into the cell phones and the whole thing. So I don't know if we could play the video. I just want to hear your thoughts on this. So let's play this.
Mr. Mayor, in regard to the Friday meeting with President Trump,
Yes.
he came out of the meeting saying that you talked about almost nothing.
Okay.
I just wanted to get your reaction to that. It seemed like kind of belittling the meeting in general. And then also separately, the documents that were released in your federal case, there were like numerous instances where the agents investigating, even the prosecutors, talked about efforts that you may have made to try to conceal things. You said you had a phone, or you didn't have a phone on you, and it turned out you did, according to GPS data. Wanted to get your reaction to that as well.
First, the president communicates the way he communicates and how he wants to communicate. I don't speak for the president. I can only speak for myself. When I came out of the meeting, I shared what I talked about. And so if you have a question on what the president's thoughts are, that's the president. He said, Eric thanked me. Eric thanked me. And I just shared with Marsha, yes. I thanked her. I wish I could have thanked President Biden when he was talking about the weaponization of the Justice Department against his family. I would have hoped he would say, and they weaponized it against Eric also, but he didn't. So I couldn't thank him. It's all good. And I'm clear that he answered that when he spoke. When you talk about the document, one of the biggest things they said about the password, and I remember others ask, "Hey folks, I'm dyslexic. I forget numbers." That's a byproduct of it. I always give my numbers to my staffers. That's what I always do. And if someone stated that I had a phone on me based on the GPS data, they're liars. They're liars. And the GPS data clearly pings and show you what phones are. They had the evidence. I did not have the phone. And if they said that, they're liars. The goal was to humiliate me, to embarrass me, to display me. That was their goal. And when you look at the information, I don't see why no one is factoring in. They wanted to take my phones at the goddamn marathon, folks. Right. And I don't know why. At the marathon. They could have come to my house. And so if they said I had it, I'm telling you, they're lying.
Yeah, Sarena, they're lying. The phone's not on him. So it's not on him. And he has dyslexia, so he doesn't remember numbers. He remembers to wake up every morning, but he can't, he doesn't know. Look at this.
Yeah.
Confirmed jail debt to 2025 brings New York City's total to 38 under Mayor Eric Adams. He must not know that number either, Sarena.
He must have forgotten that too.
What are your thoughts hearing that? And we didn't even get into the documents yet. Look at the way he's responding to everything. He sounds and looks like what we call a perp. He's a perp. He actually sounds like P. Diddy. Somebody wrote something about that. P. Diddy, by the way.
Yeah, listen, his answers don't make any sense. First of all, I hate when people use excuses like that. Dyslexia is a very real thing. I know he suffers from it, and that's fine. And nobody should use that against him or make fun of it or anything. But that has nothing to do with what actually happened. First of all, he changed his password from a 4-number password to a 6-number, more difficult password the day before the feds tried to get his phones. Please tell me how that's a coincidence and how that plays a role at all in his dyslexia. It doesn't at all. The fact that he forgot it overnight makes no sense, but he just said, which also makes no sense, that he gave the numbers to his staffers. That's not true, right? That cannot be true, because if it were true, let's play it out. The feds say, "Oh, you got this phone? Let's open it up." And he's like, "Shoot, I actually just changed the password to 6 numbers. And I can't remember it either." "Oh, you can't remember it?" "No, I can't." Did he then say, "But I gave the numbers to my staffers. Let me just go make a quick call and I'll get that number to you"? No, he didn't cooperate. And from what I understand, the feds have never gotten the code. They've never uncovered or gotten into that phone. So he didn't cooperate. Whether, like, now he's just adding one more step to his non-cooperation. It's like, where was the follow-up question from the journalist where it was like, all right, so you did know the numbers, it's just that your staff didn't provide it? Like, you're still uncooperative, you're still sleazy. And I guarantee you the feds would not have had this issue if right after he said he forgot, he said, here they are, just ask my staffers and they'll give it to you. He didn't do that.
No, he didn't do that. And the fact that then he's like basically spinning this and then saying, oh, I didn't have the phone on me. So they're saying the GPS track. I mean, how do you think they would know where he is? He's got a tracker on the phone. He's saying it wasn't on him. But
I love that. Go ahead. Yeah, continue.
I'm saying he said it wasn't on him, but remember what he had said when he got stopped in the truck in 2023 November. He said that one of them was back at Gracie Mansion, one of the phones or whatever, and that's the phone that they didn't have the passcode to. I guess he has dyslexia for that also, and he said that it's not on his possession. So he's saying the phones weren't on him because obviously he knew this one was the one they were hot for, and the ones that he had on him, they took all his electronics. But he's saying here, I didn't have anything on me. I didn't have anything on me.
So he's really willing to go out there and say that these individuals lied to a federal judge, because you have to present a warrant. I mean, you have to present probable cause in order to get that warrant. And to present probable cause, as you know, Sal, you go in front of a judge as an investigator, police officer, FBI agent, and you tell the judge what it is you have. And the judge has to make an assessment and give you that warrant based on the probable cause that you present. So he's willing to say that this agent went to the judge and just completely lied to the judge. I mean, that's a crime, right? Is he accusing them of a crime? Also, doesn't his NYPD routinely rely on GPS tracking and triangulation and all of that to prosecute thousands of New Yorkers, including Luigi Mangione, by the way? Thousands of people are under the thumb of NYPD with the very same technology that he's complaining was either wrong or lied about. So again, I think you mentioned this to me before we were recording, but just handing me as a criminal defense attorney lots of fun things that I could argue to a jury for all of my clients, because I guess technology is wrong, and I guess federal agents lie to judges routinely to get warrants. Cool. Mayor Adams said it. Let's call him to the stand as an expert witness.
Yeah. And also that he wasn't they were going to stop him at the goddamn marathon. They're going to stop him at the goddamn marathon. Goddamn.
But they didn't. That's the beauty of it. I love that he's holding them to that, but they didn't. It's amazing. What things did he think about doing that he didn't actually do? Are we going to hold him to his thoughts too? Are we prosecuting people for their thoughts nowadays too?
That's the other thing, thought crimes, which, he's big with, he thinks people online should be investigated, hate speech. So he's for and against everything. He's for the First Amendment and free speech when it benefits him, and then he turns around when it benefits him again and says, oh, that's hate speech. We need to go after everyone any dissent, anyone making fun of me, basically, because that's what he's really worried about. He's got a giant ego, as you could tell. But on Friday, Sarena, he had gone to the White House for some bogus little meeting. In my opinion, this is what he did. He wanted to go to the White House to either tell President Trump, you made the right decision despite all these documents are about to show that I'm a criminal and I operate like a drug lord. But he went there to try to reassure him, because he wasn't even there for under 30 minutes he was there. And like Trump said, he said, thank you. And that was it. Yeah. And look at him. This is
the White House getting ready to go in to have a meeting with the president and his team. Always New York centered, to talk about infrastructure, to talk about the coordinations we could have, major projects, and all the things that New Yorkers feel are important. We'll always deliver for New York and put New York first.
He may push New York first, Sarena, and then after this, he took a video of him walking somewhere on a corner, which is even more bizarre, because Trump said he thanked me. That was it. And the meeting was documented. It's not even 30 minutes. So what the hell kind of infrastructure talk can you say in that amount of time? Other than,
Please.
this sounds like, thanks for not making me go to jail. I'm a criminal, and don't worry, those documents from today, don't read those. There's nothing to look there.
Exactly. That was like the weirdest get ready with me I've ever seen, like on a TikTok. Get ready with me as I go thank President Trump for bailing me out from my federal charges. There's no way he had any sort of substantive conversation about New York within those 30 minutes. And I bet if he had, that Trump would have mentioned that. He would have said, we spoke about important things. And even if he felt it was confidential, I'm sure he would have said, like, he's fighting for you, New York. I think he's losing Trump as a fan. I think Trump was like, look, dude, I did you this favor. Just go away. Like, I did you this thing. Please do what I need you to do. And I'm not doing this anymore. So I just think it was a very strange thing for him to do that. And I don't believe him. I don't believe that they actually discussed anything of substance about New York.
No, I don't either. And I think that if he sees the documents, it would have been even worse. Here's another one. Let's see what else he said here, Eric.
Mayor Eric Adams, from his seat on the plane this morning, described his afternoon White House sit-down with President Trump like this.
To go over some important items that impact the city. We're looking forward to finding ways that we can collaborate together to address infrastructure and other funding items.
That Culture First Class. That's NBC News. NBC News on that, by the way. I don't know if that was Culture First Class with Eric, because he's got problems with upgrades on the airlines. Look, we got to see the video of him after this, because I saw he's walking outside and he's making this into like it was the greatest thing. It's hysterical because it's probably less than a few minutes that he's even there. I don't really lasted as long as they're making. He wants to again. He's very braggadocious. Look at me, I'm Eric Adams, and he's just trying to deflect from all of that. What was going on with the document dump, which we haven't even really got into all the stuff that's in there, and we're learning about, and that there's other people that were pled guilty that they were coming to in the federal case, so they were working their way into the grander, and the fact that he was hiding things. Destruction of evidence, tampering with evidence, all of that was coming in, and they cut the legs from underneath them. Why? Because Emil Bove, again, I don't know what this guy's doing here, and the Justice Department said, we're going to dismiss this case without us even looking at the merits of it, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, I cannot believe that either. And I agree. I don't think he was there for as long as he says he was. I think he was probably walking around doing his B-reels. It's all about his egos. That's what he was there for. And I just think like it's a big fall for Eric Adams, because he used to be getting upgrades into first class. And now it looks like the only upgrade he has was to get more leg room on the aisle seat. So poor guy, fell hard.
Look at that. LMP Franco says Emil Bove no longer at the DOJ.
Ooh.
Is that true?
I think I missed that news. I'm not sure.
Look, if he wasn't at the DOJ, that makes him a momentary hitman. He came in to save Eric, which means I would love to see all their communications, because something stinks here. It really does. It smells of somebody's getting paid, which is why I was always fingering Boris Epstein, who, if people really go back and look, President Trump's defense was Joe Tacopina, who had actually gotten a lot of that original case, he touched me case. They made up that law from Kathy Hochul for 1 year. Anyone that was, sexually harassed or assaulted from 100 years ago could come back and say something. And that's what they used in the E. Jean Carroll case. And Tacopina got all the major things thrown out of that case. And then Boris, who is Trump's the lead advisor for legal matters, when he's never tried a case himself, which always left me scratching my head, said, take Emil Bove and Todd Blanche instead, who are now, Todd Blanche is a deputy in DOJ. And what happened? He got destroyed in those cases. Tacopina's gone. He ended up paying for her, paying on that other thing with Tish James. The defense was terrible, but now they're like, oh, well, he's the president, so even though it was a criminal conviction, it doesn't matter because he got elected, but it still stands on his record. He didn't have any defense. They didn't defend him correctly. And now these guys are in the DOJ, and all of a sudden they're praising Eric Adams, these two. That is bizarre. And nobody wants to ask that question. You know?
It is bizarre. It is. And at some point, I'm wondering if this is ever going to get solved. Like if we're ever going to know what's really going on behind closed doors here, because there is something, like you said, it smells so bad. The cast of characters that are involved here, you don't have people who are like upright citizens dealing with these very important things. You have yes men and you have people with very interesting connections. So
yeah. And I always point to that when it comes to these guys. So one thing here, Logic's fine. It says Apple had given the FBI the backdoor codes prior. The problem was legality of use. Tim Cook later confirmed that had been done prior. I don't want to argue. The FBI has the ability. That's my point. I think they do. But I think you're correct about the Apple because they had used it. And, again, I don't know because I think they're right that Apple did this in a case or they took away the right to do it because they got in trouble in a court case because the FBI asked them and it's a privacy issue, but not in a criminal manner like this. Like they really needed to see what's on that phone. I think the world wanted to see what's on that phone, especially in this case because it's so many moving parts. So in the actuality of the documents now, Sarena, what are your thoughts on everything you were reading and you're seeing? Is this like 3,000 pages or something, 2,000 pages. And we came to find out about Dwayne Montgomery. And apparently he was going to be in this case as well as a witness because he had pled guilty to the straw donor scheme that Eric Adams himself was very much involved. And remember, he was involved with that woman who Alvin Bragg prosecuted, some woman that really didn't do anything. And that Eric Adams himself went to her apartment. So there was a whole thing with that. So the case, I don't know how you say this guy's not guilty of anything, but what are your thoughts on all of that? Document dumps, the stuff you saw, the articles we've been reading, we've been following this for years. What is your verdict on all of this?
My verdict is guilty, obviously. I mean, the way that it reads, and you would agree, I'm sure, is it reads like somebody trying to get out of trouble. It reads very perpy to me. All of the things that he was doing to conceal his actions makes it almost impossible for them to show exactly what he was doing. But there was enough there that they were able to uncover that was criminal behavior. And so I think it's very interesting because sometimes you run across this kind of thing where it's like, well, their prosecution is going to be limited because of all of his actions to conceal evidence. And I do think that plays a role when you have to prosecute a case with respect to consciousness of guilt. It shows a jury like, look, here's what we do have, but please consider that the reason why we don't have more is because of his criminal actions of tampering. I think they could have had tampering charges on there eventually. That's what I think they were building up to. I also think that they should have charged him with perjury, or well, not perjury, but lying to federal agents, because it does feel, at least with the numbers thing, it feels like there was enough evidence to pursue charges like that. And last I checked, lying to an FBI agent is not okay. You can't do it. And B, there's a reason you do it. If you have nothing to hide, then there's no reason to lie. If you have nothing to hide, there's no reason to have 7 phones that you scrub meticulously. Why? Let's just bring this back. It's not normal behavior to have 7 phones that you then scrub, like whether you were the mayor or not. If you were arresting somebody as a police officer and you came to find out that a lot of the crimes that they were committing or that you thought they were committing had to do with communications, whether, let's say, they were a drug dealer. Always you have drug dealers communicating. I love this graphic. Their transactions over phones, right? Like so many specific crimes are advanced through communications on phones, including the crimes that they were investigating for Adams. And so your act of scrubbing your phone, it's not a normal thing. It's not like, okay, before I go to bed, I'm going to shower, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to change my clothes, I'm going to scrub my phones and go to sleep. Like, it's not part of the routine of an innocent person.
Look, there's so much stuff with this guy, and we're looking at, and I'm saying, how does this guy, like, I don't know, he's got 7 phones, and the fact that the police department gave him one, and that's something I want to home in on with you, because do you think, like, so my argument, right, on that 4 request, I think even in a legal basis is correct, and that he is not a member of the police department. He cannot say executive privilege, because remember, Sarena, he walks around. You saw those guys around him? Those are NYPD cops. They have phones.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to communicate in the NYPD phone, because he has his own phone that he could communicate with the police commissioner if they're not partying together con sofrito at that time. He's got his guys with him that have the phone and could say, no, sir, look, whatever it is, police matter could be handled by police personnel. He's not that. So I think my argument's correct in that we, the people, have the right to see the contents of that phone, all the metadata, everything, because what is he doing with an NYPD cell phone? He's just—
I know. I agree. I mean, is each cell phone for each agency? Like, does he have a DOC cell phone, like a DCAS cell phone, like a building cell phone? Like, I don't understand why you need to, and I know why you may need 2, right? You got your personal and you got your business, but 7, I mean, again, it's unbelievable. I mean, especially if he's going to claim he has trouble keeping track of things. Are you telling me, Sal, that he couldn't remember 1 password, but he remembers 7 different passwords for all 7 of his phones? Come on. It's not adding up. It's not adding up. Makes no sense.
And again, here's Special Hagen saying his buddy Bishop Lamar Whitehead got additional time for lying to the FBI about not having another.
There you go.
Then our esteemed mayor did the exact same thing months later.
No consequences.
LMP Franco, Adams has phones like Kaz has embroidered jackets. It is true.
Like Pearson has crumbs.
Yeah, Pearson has crumbs, all the crumbs that they're associated with. And that's what I'm getting to is, what is he using the NYPD phone for? The other ones, he might get away with saying that it's the office of the mayor, it's a city agency. But then you begin to think, are the 7 phones, or this is it for every agency? Does he have a phone for every agency where, and Sarena, if you had a case like this, right, and you say they're using a police department phone and they're using Signal, right? Look at this guy, Kaz, dressed as a firefighter. What a clown. Absolute clown.
Must have been Halloween.
And he's not even trained. He's not trained for that. And maybe it is Halloween early for him. But if you have a phone, right, and you're using it, whatever it is, NYPD or Department of Corrections, what are you doing with Signal on that phone? Why is Signal on that phone? Is that an approved app from the— Remember, this just came up with Signalgate in the White House with the whole defense community and how a journalist ended up in the Signal app.
Right.
Why would you have Signal on an NYPD issued phone? That screams of criminality to me, and the way he's so shady about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would actually have to download the app onto that phone. I don't think NYPD is giving you the phone with Signal on it, right? So why are you downloading an encrypted app onto a city phone? That doesn't really make any sense to me. That phone, if you're doing city business, is— I mean, it's open potentially to the public because it's your city phone. It belongs to the city. It doesn't belong to you. And the content of that phone is not privileged. I mean, yes, if you're an attorney, let's say, or if he's the mayor and there is certain privileged information that could be redacted, sure. But in general, that phone is not you don't have an expectation of privacy for yourself in that phone.
Nope.
So I don't know why you would be downloading Signal onto a city phone.
That's somebody said, Sal, Hector says, Sal, it is authorized. So you're saying, I don't think Signal is not authorized to be in an NYPD phone. And you certainly not authorized on a phone that's not NYPD personnel. He's not a cop. That has nothing. You can. So if we request the police commissioner's phone, you're not going to get it. They're going to scream that it's criminal investigations. It's a matter of privilege. He's not. He cannot say that because he's a civilian. There is no. Someone explain, even in the NYPD patrol guide, what the mayor needs an NYPD issued phone for, because that has yet to be explained. That's what needs to be looked at, not the other way around. And I see this as an issue because, again, he's uploading Signal. And look, what is he using Signal for? Because we know his assistant, Brianna Suggs, the main fundraiser for him, which she's now fundraising again for him because, thanks to Email Both. And she deleted the Signal app from the phone when she was being interviewed by the FBI. She went to the bathroom and deleted it. Okay, so what is that about? What was being communicated there?
Exactly.
Using because which phone did she text? Because he has 7 of them, and was any of them NYPD issued? Because we know of one, but I don't know. I think there was another one as well out of the 7. What is the purpose of that, Serena? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of.
I know. And if it was Brianna Suggs who is the one who deleted it, or anyone who's not an NYPD member, what is the privileged information that she's in possession of on that Signal app that she thought was, needed to be deleted? Nothing. It was a signal of criminality. It wasn't a signal of confidentiality, right? It was. No one's like, she's not like, oh, shoot, I'm having attorney-client privilege conversations right now. I better not allow anybody to see that. That's not what that was. She was the fundraiser. She's doing stuff that has not privileged information. So if she's deleting that entire app, that is evidence of criminality, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I think. So at least for this topic, because this is another thing I want to ask you about. Yep. What is your final thoughts on all of this? The documents that you saw, the dump. I'm sure there's going to be even more stuff that comes from this. What is your final thoughts on this? I know we don't like the way this was handled, and I think Danielle Sassone, who was the head prosecutor here, she was the head of the DOJ and the SDNY at that time. I think she's about to do an interview, so I can't wait to hear that. So what are your thoughts on all of this?
Me too. My thoughts are that our suspicions were confirmed. No matter what his attorney said, he had like an attorney spokesperson say like, oh, now that it's out in the open, everyone could know that it was all lies. And I'm like, wow. I mean, great job as the attorney to try to spin that and just try to like pretend that this was all kosher. But I think actually it's the opposite. I think now that we saw what was in there, we really do see the quid pro quo. We really do see that there was a dirty deal made, and that anybody else, if it weren't him, would have gone down with convictions. And in fact, other people who were smaller fish in this whole thing did go down. So I think it confirmed our suspicions.
Yeah, and I think also Mohammed Bahi right now that pled guilty, and Erdogan Erkan should not sign that document and say, wait a minute, why am I pleading guilty? What? So that's another thing. I don't know how that's going to end up. It's out in the open.
Yeah.
I think they're having I think there's a hearing on that soon with Mohammed Bahi, but I would not sign that paper because you can't be found guilty for something that he's walking on.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the Finest Unfiltered did a little something on that the other day, talking about that exact question of what do these guys do now that Mayor Adams got to walk? And they were correct. I did say, and I'll say it again, if I'm their lawyer, I am making motions to withdraw that plea. I am having negotiation talks. I am making a very strong argument that I could not possibly have participated in a conspiracy that didn't exist.
That's my point. And that's what I think they should be doing in fairness of justice. That's what I would say.
Yeah, right.
But
in the interest of justice. Yep.
And I think that this is, again, to be continued, although I think that everything we've said has not only come true, we were right about it all. And again, like very early on in the episode here, I had stated how President Trump endorsed Jack Ciattarelli, and half of these MAGA people are screaming and calling Trump, oh, I can't believe you did this. But they don't have a problem with him meeting with a total criminal in Eric Adams, who's destroyed the lives of numerous Trump supporters, the New York City itself. Rikers is a mess. Everything he touches is garbage. But he instructed or told or whatever his DOJ to do this. None of this makes sense, but people should take a look in the mirror before they run ahead and judge others when they got to look at themselves and go, hey, I'm a hypocrite. That's what I am first.
It's so true. And actually, Sal, it just hit me as you were saying this, that I think today is the first day that there has ever been any sort of accountability against Mayor Adams, even in the slightest. And that is he just lost control of Rikers Island.
Yes, he finally is held accountable, which is all we want.
Yep.
Where taxpayers, New York City residents want accountability because we don't have any. We don't have any. You know, that's the issue. So that I did want to ask you before I let you go about first any thoughts on the Luigi Mangione case, because I saw there's some movement there.
There is.
I did see that. Did I read that right? They were listening in on the phone calls.
Oh God, it's so bad.
I mean, how much crazier could that case get? How much?
I know.
I don't know.
You know what? I think it's really wonderful that this case has brought to light a lot of the things that probably are happening in other cases that people just simply don't know about or may not care about. And I'm not blaming people. I mean, these things are the norm, right? Unless you start paying attention to one and you zero in on one case, a lot of times it kind of gets lost in the story and it just goes, right? And now that we have so much, so much attention and criticism on this one case, people are finally starting to understand how people could really get caught up in bad police work or unfair situations. Now, again, I'm not saying that Luigi did not commit this crime. It is quite possible, if not likely, that he did. But it just goes to show you that sometimes you cannot have a criminal justice system where we say, you know what? The ends justify the means. And it doesn't matter how we get to the conviction. It doesn't matter how many rights we violate. As long as we get to what we think is the right end, it's all good. No, we can't do that. So you can't have, DA's offices, even just the paralegals, which is what happened here. A paralegal was listening in on a call between Luigi and his lawyer. That's like really, really bad. That's law 101. That's ethics 101. You simply cannot do that. It's privileged information. And it taints the credibility of the prosecution, right? Whether the DA himself knew about it or the prosecutors themselves that have the case or the feds who are in a different prosecution, whether they knew about it, it doesn't matter, because what people keep seeing is every step of the way there have been prejudices and cheating and this and that between the perp walk, the Netflix or whatever Hulu documentary where they're giving out discovery and evidence to the public before they've even disclosed it to the lawyers themselves, trampling on his rights left and right.
Police commissioner.
Right. The police, right. Jess Tisch making all sorts of prejudicial comments, and Mayor Adams making prejudicial comments. And now this listening in to a call, it's like people, it's funny because even I'm guilty of this a little bit where I'm like, this happens all the time. And it's like, that's not okay. That is not okay. Right. People are like, wait a minute, this is not okay. And police and prosecutors are sometimes like, okay, but it's no big deal because this happens a lot. And it's like, that should not be happening a lot. It should not be happening ever. So,
you know what I say here, Sarena? I say this a lot. I mean, we discussed this too offline. People need to take their feelings out of this. No matter how you feel about him, about what he may or may not have done. Maybe he did kill this person, which is awful. I feel terrible for their family. But look at the facts and the evidence. This is a miscarriage of justice on the opposite end, the way they're handling it. Because remember, if you let them get away with this with Luigi Mangione, you can be next.
Yes.
You could be yoked up. Oh, this person, we don't like him. He did X, Y, Z. And they do all this prejudicial comments and tainted perp walks. And they listen in on your calls. And then you're found guilty. And you go, wait a minute. Well, next thing you know, you're rotting away for the rest of your life in a jail cell. That'll be you. And you know why? Because you stood by and said, well, I don't like Luigi Mangione because I think he's a murderer. Therefore, he has no rights. Just railroad him through. But what about a guy who may or may not, probably doesn't do something and then gets treated the same way? You
Yeah.
can't use that defense anymore because you let a guy who got railroaded in this. That's what he is. And essentially, he's being, we'll say, judiciously railroaded because the process is being tainted. You have such a strong case, you don't need to do all this stuff. But
Right.
these guys are, Sarena, I've never seen society the way it is now. Everyone, it seems to be self-impressed. You got cops on TikTok, cops hanging out with seedy people in shady places. You got the mayor who thinks he's a celebrity. And all of these people, all these, whoever it was that saw Luigi Mangione went to the NYPD thing, they were like giving them like, oh, praise, all this stuff. The cops in Pennsylvania that spot him, that probably didn't even want that. They're like, why am I even here?
True.
But they told to go, they had no choice. So it's a self-impressed society, Sarena, and that's the real problem. That's
I
what
completely agree. I completely agree. Take it out of your ego, take it out of the individual passionate desires that you may have, and let's bring it back to the law and order. Like, let's apply the law equally and fairly to everybody. And that's what we try to do, even, you know, as lawyers, is we try to protect the law. We protect precedent, because it's exactly what you just said. If you break the law as a law enforcement person to try to, you know, get a certain end to the, you know, to the conclusion of your prosecution simply because you believe in it, it could be applied to innocent people or people who are innocent of some things, but not everything. I mean, it's just a slippery slope, and we try to protect that precedent.
That's right. What I'm doing here is we're not defending his actions. We're not defending the person per se. We're defending their rights. Their rights. Their rights are your rights. Otherwise, you got a lawless society that's run by self-impressed people. Look at me, and let me take my cell phone out. Let me be in uniform and put TikTok videos. And when you judge me, then we go back and try to make things about race and color and creed and all this stuff. Meanwhile, what does the policy say? Are you allowed to be in uniform saying I'm an officer for whatever county or district you're in and go on TikTok and make a stupid video for what? We call that social media clout. You're a clout chaser. So the clout chaser becomes a self-impressed person who then taints criminal cases like this. So I think this case, it's tainted no matter how you look at it. And it's going to end up like O.J. Simpson. So don't be surprised when this is tied up in years, or he's found not guilty, or there's I'd say a hung jury. Something like this will happen, because I've never seen anything like this. This is like first-rate self-impressed people clout chasing. I've never seen anything like it. And it's completely tainted this case, in my opinion. And it's good that you're on the forefront of this, because you're defending people's rights, because that's what you do as a lawyer.
Yes.
And to add this, Luigi Mangione becomes a millionaire behind bars. You know, people flock to people's defense when they see things. And I think people see what they're saying. That's what it is.
That's exactly right. People are sending him. I mean, they're funding not this lavish lifestyle. They're funding his legal fund so that he could get a fair trial. And good for them.
All I want to see is a fair trial. I don't like to see witch hunts and railroad jobs. That's not what this country is. Otherwise, you're like the Soviet Union. I mean, let's go back in time and see what they used to do. They were prison camps. It was brutal. And if that's what you're gonna say, oh look, this is what Eric Adams said about this Luigi Mangione case. Eric Adams said he wanted to send a strong message when he met accused United Healthcare CEO killer Luigi Mangione in New York City on Thursday. That is his stupid perp walk. Look what he said. I wanted to send a strong message with the police commissioner that we are leading from the front. I'm not going to just allow him to come into our city. I wanted him to look him in the eye and state, you carried out this terrorist act in my city, the city that the people of New York love. And I wanted to be there to show the symbolism of that. Is that even terrorism, Sarena?
Is he crazy? First of all, like, he's crazy. No, it's not terrorism, as you and I know. It's not terrorism. And also, you cannot say these things. You cannot prejudice Luigi by saying in public, in papers, I want to tell you, you can't come into my city and murder people. He's not been tried. He's not been convicted. And once again, Mayor Hypocrite Don't you know something about pretrial prejudicial statements, since that's exactly how you got your own case dismissed? I'm sick. I am sick with the hypocrisy. I feel like you bring this up because you want me to get sick on air. Like, I'm so mad at the hypocrisy. How are you saying all of those things and then claiming that you were prejudiced in your case because of something that the United States attorney said about you?
I'm just showing you the fact. Wherever the evidence leads, this analysis show, and I'm seeing that Luigi Mangione's case, no matter how you feel about him, should be dismissed at a certain point. He will be found not guilty. One or the other is going to happen here, because there's so much stuff. And he could yap all he wants, Eric Adams, but this case will be put on trial at a certain point, and he may or may not be mayor by then. And then all of the stuff will fall on him. His big mouth, his police commissioner, who's had conflict of interest problems herself 3 years ago. She had a conflict of interest, Jessica Tisch. She's been a nightmare. I don't know why people praise her. I guess she pays the right people, maybe. I don't know what's going on with her on how these articles are constantly written that she's like the hero New York City needs. Just the other day, by the way, there was a transfer of multiple cops that were late to the mobile field force. So they transferred them. So instead of with all these things going on, we see police officers committing suicide. We're going to transfer them because they were late to their little mobile field force, the little unit that now they say, you got to go here, you got to go. They're moving cops around for like the day. That's what she transferred people for. That's a police commissioner for you. I don't know. They say they care about your mental health, but really they only care about, once again, themselves. It's all about self-impressed. And I don't know who or why. Someone explain why she has puff piece after puff piece written about her. She has done nothing. Actually, corruption has flourished. New York City Police Department has done nothing to curb any kind of corruption. They abuse their police officers in the street. And the only people they seem to care about is, once again, John Schell. And, of course, now he's a deputy mayor, Kaz Dodry. And he's running around on his PR tours. That's what I see. That's what the people see. That's what I hear. This transfer thing was nuts. They transferred these cops just because they said they were late, like 2 minutes to this mobile field force. If you're late, you do a 28, we call it. It's a form of leave of absence, and you're good. And you put it in a computer, and the supervisor approves it. Can you be hurt? Yeah, you can lose some. What, you're going to lose more time than you're giving because you came late? So I don't understand. That's how the police department is run. And I like to, it's all like synergistic. It's all tied together.
It is.
And the last thing I wanted to say before you leave, I know I'm going a little long with you here. You were last seen here, we were discussing the Ambra Gutierrez case with Michael Osgood. So how is that all going since you did all that? You had a big press conference. You came on here. You brilliantly explained that case, but I don't know. I don't know why I didn't get all the traction it should have.
I know. There was actually a turnover, it seems, for the head of the criminal division at SDNY. Literally just a couple of days after I sent that press release and I sent the demand letter. So I have not heard from that new person. I am going to be doing some more things to see if we could get some more traction. For now, I'd love to encourage your viewers to go to the website, investigatenyc.com, where they could not only hear the evidence that Harvey Weinstein actually did admit to sexually assaulting Ambra, and also you could hear him on the wire trying to get her back into his hotel room. You can hear all of that evidence. You can read the demand letter, and you can actually sign a petition that will help, I think, get some public interest and push this to happen. We are basically calling for an investigation into the NYPD and to the DA's office, the Manhattan DA's office, into the cover-up, because we know it happened. We know Harvey Weinstein sexually assaulted Ambra Gutierrez. We know that there was a cover-up after the fact. All we don't know is why it happened and why there has been no accountability for that happening. And that's what we want. Again, to tie it all together, like you say, accountability. That's what we want.
That's all we're looking for here. And I actually signed a petition, so I urge anyone out if you can, go to investigatenyc.com, sign that petition. If you're a victim or you know anything, I will contact Sarena immediately. So,
Please.
Sarena, where can people contact you?
You could find me in a lot of places. So my website for my law firm is townsendlawnyc.com. You can find me there and contact me through there. But I'm also all over social media. I'm on X as Townsend_Sarena. I'm on Instagram as Sarena Tee. I'm on TikTok, Sarena Townsend. So like literally whatever your age group, you're going to find me somewhere. And of course I am on Sal's show a lot because I love coming on here with Sal.
Yes, because Sarena is, like I said, she's a fan favorite of the show. The people love you here. And also, I like your take because it's fact-based. It's literally, and the stuff that you said has not only come true, now you see the documents, and I think you make a lot of points that people aren't making, especially this Luigi Mangione case. It's going to end the way we're saying, and you're going to play this back whenever they have this trial, and they're going to say, oh, well, we were saying that. And we're saying that for a reason, because every building block they're trying to build it's built on, like, it's a shattered brick or it's sand that's melted. It's like the sand is wet, it's going straight down. You can't. You're building a house on sand here. It's just not going to work because you started on the wrong foot. And it should be a lesson for the law enforcement community going forward and elected official, mayor. Don't get involved in this kind of stuff. Those guys are professionals and they know what they're doing. The chief of detectives should not be on a show discussing this case with his discovery. That doesn't go to the defense first. It goes to the show. He discussed
unreal.
Unheard of. That's Chief Kenny for you. Chief of detectives. Everybody said, oh, good guy. My favorite thing, Sarena, is everyone always says, he's a great guy. He's a great guy. So that means let's forget about everything else that he could have done that's wrong. I hear the same things even about former mayors in New York City. He's a great guy. No, you got to look at what it is, and that's where you make, your value judgment or your judgment or whatever it is you're going to do. What are they doing? Their actions right now. Forget about good guy, good girl. Right. But people seem to get lost in this. That's a good guy. That's a line from John McCarthy where he goes, he's a good guy, Mo. I don't know if you can see it. He always says it on his show. It's hysterical. It's a good guy, Mo. Mo is a good guy. Then you're like, they're doing all these corrupt things. And you're like, yeah, well, he's a good guy. So let's just forget about the corruption.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, good guys do bad things sometimes. And we got to hold people accountable for those things.
Yeah. So, Sarena, I know I went along with you, but I thought it was
okay.
And this was a good time to let you go and do what you have to do there.
Thank you, Sal.
Thanks for coming on, Sarena. Your analysis is very important, not only to the show, but to me and to the audience, because I think you laid out a lot of things in like months, and everything's coming true the way you said. And I hope that everything with your case with Amber, I hope that the SDNY actually starts to make a move on this. It looks like they're all sleepwalking in the DOJ. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm hoping that this will change for the better. That's basically what we want,
Thank you, Sal. Yeah, we're going to put the pressure on. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. As always.
And thank you for being a warrior and an advocate for the defenseless.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sarena. So that was Sarena Townsend. She's, like I said, if you have any issues, you have a lawsuit you think you could potentially have, I would contact her. And she makes a lot of good points. Here's Rob Lukash from the Executive Perspective. Good guy, not a good chief of detectives. That's what he's talking about, Chief Kenny. This is a term that we've heard over and over again. That's a good guy, Mo. Or she's great. She's excellent. And then you're like, but everything underneath is so corrupt. And we're just supposed to sit there and keep our mouth shut. And it's like, no, that's not the way the world works. So that's going against the grain. And that's why it's always an uphill battle. So I now want to get into a few other things before we wrap this up. And I saw last night the Knicks versus Celtics game, which was unbelievable. And there you have Jalen Brunson at 39 points, 12 assists, 5 rebounds. The Knicks, once again, were losing by 15, and they won. And they're taking a commanding 3-1 lead now in this series against the Boston Celtics, who are, even though it's the second-seeded team in the Eastern Conference, they're the defending champions and the biggest threat. And it's a shame their star player, Tatum, I think he ruptured his Achilles. It was a brutal, to watch it was gut-wrenching because he played his heart out, and it's so sad to watch somebody who's great just get hurt on the court. And he's a good player. He's also a good person. And I feel sorry that happened to him. And that was like a gut-wrenching moment. They even got Dave Portnoy on X and Instagram. I think he made a video about it. But, yes, that stinks for Boston. But they head to Game 5, and the Knicks have a chance to close it out. I can't believe I'm saying that. And if you want to watch that, I think it's not tonight, tomorrow night. I think it is. They're going to be playing at Boston. And we'll see if the Knicks can close it out, because I think this is the first time the Knicks have been interesting since, I'd say, 1999 was the last time they were in the finals. It was under Jeff Van Gundy as a coach. And before that, of course, you had Pat Riley, which those were the years that, New York was buzzing. Basketball was a big thing, and it kind of got your mind off of all the nonsense, all the histrionics that goes on in New York City. So kudos to the Knicks. I'm not a Knicks fan, but again, that was quite a game, and it reinvigorized New York City, I believe. Then, of course, baseball. What do we have here? Look, that's Pat Riley. Great coach right away. And now he is actually president of the Miami Heat down here in Florida, and South Florida loves Pat Riley. So good. Kudos to Pat. He's a legend. And I hope he continues on as the Miami Heat president of operations there, the GM. I think he's a GM or the CEO of the basketball operations. So last night, though, the Mets, we just keep on winning, right? It's like a machine. We won 4-3, but the way we won was the walk-off hit by Pete Alonso, who's second in runs batted in. He's playing great. Francisco Lindor is keeping up with the whole MVP caliber kind of play. You got Juan Soto. He's been hitting home runs left and right. And there we are, 27-15. We're in first place by 2.5 games right now. Also, I hate to say it, but the Miami Marlins are in last place at 15-25. Up-and-coming team. That's the best way I can describe. But the Mets are the second best record in the majors. I know it's still early. We'll say it's only, a little over 40 games in. But, again, the Mets, that's how they should have been playing. We expect that. They are the second most highest payroll in the major league. So, good kudos to my Mets. Keep it going. I think they're playing the Yankees in the next series or the series after, I think this weekend. So, we'll keep an eye out on that one. That's always fun, the Subway Series. But the Mets, let's keep it going. Let's go Mets. I think this is the year we might finally do something. Also, this weekend, of course, soccer. You know I love Inter Milan. We played a domestic league. We in Serie A. We won. We beat Torino 2-0. And Napoli, who's now a point ahead of us, they tied against Genoa, where they were actually winning with 2-2. So 2 games left. Napoli's up by 1 point. There's everything to play for. And by the way, we are now in the Champions League final. So that's also something to check out, of course, because I love Inter Milan. They're probably my favorite team in the world, soccer. And Italy, usually you're either born with the second you're born, you're handed a pizza and a soccer ball. And you might get a little Formula One car. That's, a toy car when you're a baby. Last but not least, you've heard me talk about Highlight forever here, right? Friday night was the finals. The Fireballs played the Renegades. And, of course, these were the final standings. But you know who won? The Renegades won their 3rd championship. They defeated the Fireballs 4-1. They completely dominated the Fireballs after the first game. Kudos to Goccieri, who's their team captain. He played great. My friend Ben played great. Well-earned championship. That's their third. They've been to the 7 finals of the Highlight League at worldhighlight.com/battle court. You could check out the history. 7 championships. They've been to 5 finals. So kudos to their owner of the team too, which is Udonis, UD. You remember him. He played for the Miami Heat. So my hat's off to them. They're now reigning champions. We're going to have the draft in a couple months for next season, which will start in September. That's Magic City Fronton in Miami in September. But again, you could check them out at worldhighlight.com/battlecourt and also the World Highlight League Network. Also, they're on ESPN3 and on YouTube as well. Check that all out. You could check out the highlights of that. So ends another season of Highlight in Miami. On to the next one. So, folks, thank you for tuning in. It's been my pleasure. Hope everybody enjoyed what you heard today because it was a lot. I'm still on I believe Eric Adams is a criminal, and I don't know if he'll ever be held criminally accountable, but certainly I doubt he'll get reelected. And there's a lot to be coming in the future. I think there'll be more news about things that he's either in and around it, involved with. I see the mayoral race there in New York City also. We have, I didn't even mention this, the fire department endorsed Andrew Cuomo. It's like, this guy's racking up endorsements everywhere, and the other candidates don't really have much of anything. They're just, having like, how can I say this, hissy fits in public. But unfortunately, Cuomo is going to probably be your Democratic nominee. So get ready for that. I'm just waiting, like John McCarry had stated, that which police union is going to endorse Eric Adams first. There it is. New York City Firefighter Union backs Andrew Cuomo for mayor, solidifying labor support. Bad job by the fire department. That's what I say. You all should be actually endorsing Curtis Sliwa. I am disgusted by the GOP. I had Oz Sultan on in the last show, and he was the chair of the Harlem GOP for 15 years now, and he's involved in Pennsylvania, and he basically laid it out for you how that works. Look at this. Following New York City lobbying push, DoorDash spends $1 million on Cuomo's mayoral bid. He's the darling of the elites. New York City, everything's up to you. You will make the final call for what's going to happen in this election. So you want to elect Cuomo, you're just electing a different version of an Eric Adams. That's all you're doing. You're going back to the past. He's not the future, but what can I say? People just love, it's like gambling, like the horse betting. If people just, you're going to lose, you're just going to bet your whole home on it anyway. And that's what I think a lot of these people, low information in New York City, they don't do any research. Oh, Cuomo, I know him. I'm going to vote for him. Oh, I'm a Democrat. That's all I know. I don't know anything else. I live in a house. I don't even live in a house. I live in a cell. All I see is Cuomo posters. That's all I know. And that's what they do. And that's very unfortunate for New York City. But shame on the GOP. You should be getting behind Curtis Sliwa and helping him fundraise, because it's going to take a lot of money to fight Andrew Cuomo, of course, in a primary. But, of course, the Republicans are putting in money on Andrew Cuomo. So you have a city that's not 2 parties. It's 1 party, 1 elite. It's an elite party there, and that's what's going to happen in New York City, unfortunately. That's what I see happening there. And it's people need to wake up. You need to wake up. So with that being said, tomorrow, 8:05 live in the morning here on the Finest Unfiltered Network, Finest Unfiltered podcast will be on. I think John, I don't know if he has an interview coming up, but he'll be on maybe with Marlon. Of course, Friday, you also have the Finest Unfiltered in the morning with the roundtable. Check out tomorrow, 5:05, 17:05 Eastern, the Executive Perspective with Ron Layson and Rob Lukash. Check them out. I don't know the topic yet, but they'll be releasing that either later today or tomorrow morning. So don't forget to check them out. And again, in the morning, John will either have a guest on or he'll be on with Marlon. And again, I don't know if you heard Eric Dim he had a little ceremony in Newark. That's how I left off the show for Derek. And again, it's just been a trying time. A lot of people showed up there. So some pictures. John was there. Marlon was there. New York State Police Department. Some not. We're not gonna say the members of the upper breast, but people that work with Eric was there. I'd like to thank everyone that was there. Unfortunately, I couldn't go. I have, I have a work, so I can't just leave here. But that was nice to see. And again, my heart goes out to Eric, who will be back soon at a certain point. He'll make that public when that is. And I just keep you in my thoughts and prayers. And again, we need to find a cure for glioblastoma one way or the other. People should be trying to fund the research and get to the bottom of that. But our hearts go out to you, Eric. I love you like a brother. So, I'm always sending you my love, and hope to see you back on the airwaves soon enough, because I'm sure there's plenty of subject matter that people need to hear your thoughts on. So, and with that, I'm going to say it's a fitting end that we end the show with the guy we were discussing today, because Eric Adams is quite the character. So with that being said, I will see you on Thursday at 1:05 Eastern. You're going to like the guest because it's somebody who knows about Rikers. So that's the only little hint I'll give you. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off from sunny Florida, which is a sunny place for shady people.
So this is a biblical moment. When Jesus was on the cross, he said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. All these Negroes who are asking me to step down, God, forgive them. Are you stupid?